Welcome to AT3, our micro teach. We've got Rory, Tyzak, and myself, Lachlan Curtis. For our rationale, I'm going to start with curriculum alignment. We have a Year 9 Outdoor and Environmental Studies class. This is a inner city school that has a high country campus. For this micro teach, we are looking to have strong links to the human impacts and world view in the curriculum of Year 9 OES. We should be emphasising that there is a clear process followed to complete the learning and to have the success criteria. These processes will be knowledge to application to decision making. Next is the middle years design. The focus area for our middle years students are identity and voice, the low risk participation, and the peer interaction. These are key, such as having things like think, pair, share, and structured roles. This will help to reduce participation anxiety, as well as to support engagement overall, producing more students meeting the success criteria. For our pedagogy choices, we've got a few parts of literature that have been drawn on for the lesson. We have the explicit teaching from Rosenstein. Through explicit teaching, we're looking to reduce the cognitive load of students, as well as show a clear example of what is needed. We also have the gradual release from Fisher and Frey. We will use this throughout the lesson, where students will receive more responsibility over their work, with progressively less teacher involvement throughout. And lastly, have collaborative learning, where students will learn with one another and help progress as a group, sharing key skills amongst the cohort.
So through the use of the relevant and contested real-world issue of the Brumby presence in the High Plains, the students get to demonstrate authentic decision-making skills that actually require them to come up with their own opinions. And in doing this provides the students with agency and ownership of their learning. It also forms a form of higher order thinking, as they need to compare and contrast the different perspectives of the stakeholders in order to actually come to a decision. Now, what else is great about this lesson is it's aligned really well to David Kolb's experiential learning cycle. So at first, they have that concrete experience of analysing the case studies and getting an understanding of what it all means. And this is followed by the abstract conceptualization, where they begin to conceptualize the relevant stakeholders and their standings, which flows quite nicely into the stage of reflective observation, where they're actually required to develop their own opinions and their own perspectives. Now, finally, they'll eventually partake in an active experimentation. This will occur out in the field excursion, where they'll go into a location that has an active Brumby problem. So the prior classes will have contextualised this issue, making it relevant and giving it meaning for when they are out in the field. And similarly, when they're in the class learning it to begin with, the prior knowledge that they're going to be heading out into the field and having that experience provides them with relevance to what they're learning and adds extra meaning as well. So for inclusivity and differentiation, what we've done is we've intentionally built in multiple different supports into the class so that every student has the equal opportunity to participate and succeed. Now, one of the most obvious ones there is the scaffolded sentence starters that we've added into each activity. So the worksheet that they've been handed has visual support and a step-by-step prompt to help them get going. And on top of that, that slideshow that's always up on the screen provides a continuous visual support for the students who need it, that is just relaying the information that the teacher has already outlined. And then lastly, the use of collaboration. So the students are all paired off, and that's done with mixed ability. So collaborating in that way helps the students all succeed by not just being with your best friend, but being with the person who is best suited to you. And that's down to the teacher's discretion and the context of the classroom. Now, by and large, the nature of this class is based around formative assessment. So the students have been provided with some explicit teaching around the context of what they're learning and introduced the topic essentially. So, to give the students an opportunity to demonstrate their understanding and also to develop their understanding, they're required to develop basically some mini presentations on this hypothetical panel that they're on. And in doing so, they are able to demonstrate that understanding in a formative sense. For the teacher to collect more data at the end of class, they have been asked to provide some exit tickets that has a couple questions on it, and that gives them an opportunity to individually articulate what their takeaways were from that class, which will give the teacher a really good understanding of where each individual is at.
Alrighty, Year 9s, welcome back to our Outdoor and Environmental Studies class. Today, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to ask for you to all put your best acting hats on. We're going to pretend today that we work for an environmental advisory panel. Okay, so we're going to be like a third party company that needs to decide what we need to do about wild horses in Kosciuszko National Park. Okay, so everyone's got their hats on. First thing I'd like you to all do, in your pairs, maybe the person sitting next to you, I'd like you to answer the following question and have a discussion. What makes a fair environmental decision? So I'll give you a few minutes to discuss that. I want you to come up with a few different answers, and I'm going to ask a few people to see what their answers are, and we can have a little discussion all together. I will add, there is no right or wrong answers, okay? I just want to see what you come up with your partner and what maybe some different views may be from person to person. If you're struggling to think of something, maybe try and think about, will these be similar to decisions we make at home or with your friends, or are there different elements that we need to think about when we're talking about an environmental context? Okay. Hopefully we can get something from there. Maybe jot them down in your book if you think you may not remember them. So I'll leave you for a few minutes, see what you can come up with, and we'll get a discussion going. Alrighty, great. Thanks for your involvement in that. Some really cool different views, which is great to see. It's nice to see a diverse classroom. So we'll continue on. For this next section, we're going to look at defining some terms. And maybe there's some terms that you have heard of before, or maybe not at all. Either way, we're going to go through my definitions of what we need to know for this topic specifically. The first one I wanted to talk about are stakeholders. Stakeholders, you may think, for me, they pop up ideas of business and people being interested. But the definition I want you to know is that a stakeholder is someone who has a vested interest in a topic or area. Okay, so for us, when we're talking about making decisions environmentally, we've got stakeholders, okay, and they might be on either side of the decision, but they're people who have an interest in the environment for our context. The next one is worldviews. Okay, so worldviews can be different for everyone, and we all will have a slightly different worldview. And they're neither right or wrong, but the definition I'd like you to know is that worldviews are the way in which someone sees the world, including beliefs, values, and assumptions. These will affect how someone will see a specific problem and may change depending as a result of family, where they work, or other major parts of someone's life. Okay, so what I find important about worldviews is that people do not have a right or wrong worldview. We all just have different ones depending on what our major interests are in life, which is what makes us all individuals, which is great. Okay, so if you've got those two definitions in your head, we're going to continue on. An example that I've come up with here is two competing groups, two different stakeholders that have two different worldviews. We have a conservation group, and they may prioritise biodiversity, but we have farmers that may prioritise land use. Okay, so you might say that they're both using the environment, but in different ways. Okay, these two people may be using the same piece of land or want to use the same piece of land, but have different views of what it may be used for. So I want to encourage you folks to talk amongst your pairs that you used in your previous groupings, and maybe talk about what are your environmental interests. Okay, are they the same as the person next to you? Are they different? Have a little talk, and we'll see what comes up with. If you have done that, I'd like you to move on to trying to come up with another business or another group of people that may use the same environment, but for different needs. Okay, so they're your two little tasks to move on with. Once you've finished, just sit down quietly and we'll come around and have a discussion.
All right, team. So for this next task, we're going to be participating in the same environmental advisory panel that we've just been in with your partners. And we're going to be analysing the wild horse case. Now, you'll have 3 minutes for this for each person. So in a moment, I'm going to get you to turn to your partner, and we're going to pick one of you to speak first and one to record the key point. Now, don't forget you can use the sentence starters on your sheet to help. So with your partner, I'm going to get you to identify one stakeholder related to wild horse management. Don't forget there is examples up on the slides, so you can choose between the national park rangers, conservation groups, local farmers, the local Indigenous community, and tourism operators. And I want you to explain what that stakeholder wants and why they want it. Okay? Don't forget we've got the sentence starters on the sheet. So this stakeholder believes, they want, or this matters because. Now, I really want you to make your explanation specific. Name what their goal is. It could be to protect biodiversity or to preserve cultural sites or something along those lines. And give a really clear reason why they hold that view. Now, once you've done that, we're going to get you to link a simple piece of evidence to that explanation. So just a fact or a value they hold or what a likely consequence might be. Don't forget we've got sentence starters here for that as well. So one piece of evidence is, or because of this, it is likely that. All right. Now an example could be, the conservation group believes horses should be removed. They want to protect alpine vegetation because horses trample delicate plants. One piece of evidence is that trampling reduces native plant cover, and that harms species that rely on the habitat. So while you discuss, after you've had a go, I want you to swap roles, and so that you've both had a turn of to practice explaining and of recording. I'll be walking around the room, and I'm going to be listening out for two things. I want to hear a clearly named stakeholder and a concise reason with that evidence. Now, if you're unsure, use the visual prompts on the slides, and don't forget you can ask me a quick clarifying question, and I'll try and give you a one-sentence hint. All right? Now, when I call time, each pair will share a one-sentence summary with another. All right? Write it on your worksheets first so you're ready for that. That summary should state the stakeholder and the main reason in one sentence. All right, are we ready? Partner up and let's get into it. All right, everyone, bringing it back in now. Cool, so well done on the last participation task. Everyone did a really good job of providing a really clear and succinct position and backing it up really well. So we're going to take it a little further now. So in this next task, it's your turn to decide based off your own opinions, all right? So I'm going to give you a few minutes with your partners, and you're going to take a position and then you're going to justify it. Now, what we want to determine is whether or not you think that wild brumbies should be removed completely, whether they should be managed, or whether they should be protected. All right, so just choose one of those three suggestions, and you and your partner need to agree which position you're going to take. Once you've decided, together you'll prepare a justification, and that justification needs to include your position in a nice, clear, succinct sentence with two supporting reasons, all right? This could be ecological, it could be social, and it could be economic as well, all right? Once you've provided the two supporting reasons, we'll get you to further support that with one piece of evidence, or maybe an expected consequence that links to each of those reasons. Alrighty? Cool. Now, once we're finished, I'm going to get you to assign one person to present your position, and the other person to give the evidence that you've come up with as well. Alrighty? What I'm going to be listening for to sort of demonstrate your understanding is that clear position worded in one sentence. And we really are looking for those two reasons with at least one linked piece of evidence. And I want to see a clear logical connection between those reasons and evidence, all right? If you're unsure, come and speak to me. I'll be walking around the room and we can have a little discussion about what we're going to do, alrighty? All right, team, let's get into it.
Alrighty, Year 9. So before we finish up for the day, we've done a few little games, a few different exercises. Done a bit of talking today. I want to see exactly how we're going as a class in terms of what knowledge we've taken on board and if there's any gaps in there. So as we were doing that last little exercise, I walked around and I've dropped a little sticky note on your desk in front of each of you. Okay, now, what I would like you to write down, I know it's only small, but I want you to answer these two questions for me before we leave today. Okay, so the first one being, what was difficult about making a fair decision? And the second one being, which stakeholder influenced your decision the most? So have a think about it. Don't rush these. Okay, we won't be leaving until we've got all of these collected. Once you have finished and answer those questions, just come off. I want you to stick them on the whiteboard. Okay, no one's going to see. I would like to just give them a quick read and see where we got to. Okay. Thanks again, Year 9, and well done today on this class.